It's time for that cover price top 10. This time we're going back 1 year, and this is going to hurt. All right, guys, we're going back 1 year on this top 10. I'm really excited about it. Kind of tells you where the market was almost at its peak and where it is today. Before we get into it, you know what to do on all the social medias. Don't forget to check the description down below because there are discount codes for Mutant Beaver Comics, for Gemini Comics Supply, for Whatnot, and Covrprice. Most importantly, Covrprice. That's where this list came from. Our list here comes from our friends over at Covrprice. They're focused on their top 10. We reflect on their trends from 1 year ago. I'm going to take you through how each title sales compare from last year's market values to today's current values. How did these comics do? Was it a boost or was it a bust? Before we get into this list, though, big favor to ask of you guys, go to rawlings.com. We want to vote for our friend Anthony Volpe for the Platinum Glove Award. Again, rawlings.com. That's RAWLINGS, like the gloves.com. We want to vote for Anthony Volpe for Platinum Glove, shortstop, American League. Vote for whoever you want in the National League. For that, that's it. That's my only request. All right, let's get to number 10. This is Star Wars The Mandalorian, number 5, the EM Gist 1 in 50. When Calican shot Fennec Shand, no one expected the fan favorite to return, let alone in such a prominent role in the Book of Boba Fett. In this issue, she makes her first comic appearance interior as she first appeared on the cover of Dr. Aphra number 21, the 1 in 25 variant. 1 year ago in November of 2022, we tracked 16 copies sold at a 7-day trend of 102% with a high sale of $75 for a raw copy. Fair market value for a near mint copy of this book was running at $62. These days, 1 year later, copies are trending at raw near mint fair market value of $16 and $86 for a 9.8. This issue was a bust for raw and a bust for graded. The high sale for this also came in December of 2022 when a 9.8 sold for $210. As with many characters who have come and gone in various Disney Plus series, this one didn't become a must-have in the comic world. Even as a 1 in 50 incentive variant, this issue hasn't stood the test of time and doesn't seem to be gaining any more traction, regardless of any future appearances of Fennec. Be careful of those FOMO books, guys. Let's get to number 9. This is Ultimate Fallout 4. Many comic collectors believe we are still in a period of market correction. Whatever you may believe, for some books, values have seen some declines in the past year. This has provided a ripe opportunity to chase grails, with Miles Morales' first appearance at the top of many collectors' lists. Last year, in November of 2022, we tracked Ultimate Fallout 4 at a high sale of $2,050 for a CGC 9.8 and $530 for a near mint raw fair market value. 1 year later, it's currently trending at a near mint fair market value of $437 and $1,386 in a 9.8. Ultimately, this was a bust when comparing sales over the last 12 months. However, despite its huge print run, demand is still extremely high. Back in 2011, if someone had suggested that this book would one day be valued over $1,000 in a 9.8, they might have been met with laughter in the comic shop. Miles Morales has become one of the most beloved modern characters in the world of comics, and his future remains promising. So while this is a bust, now is the time to buy, as it was most likely hit or surpass those 2022 prices with a live action appearance. Live action would put this book in another stratosphere, especially if it was cast well. I will say, I remember my days on IG Live selling books and selling Ultimate Fallout 4s for like $20, and that was like fair market value not too long ago, maybe like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, just, a little before COVID and before all the Miles hype. Let's get to number 8. This is Astonishing X-Men number 6. Secret Invasion didn't really have much of a secret. Last year, the official Tenor account released several GIFs teasing the new series. One of those GIFs was of Amelia Clark tagged hashtag Abigail Brand, and a flood of speculators picked up copies in droves, taking a chance on her first appearance. In November of 2022, we tracked it at a high sale of $241 for 9.8. raw near mint copy, fair market value of $32. 1 year later, and not only did the series fall short of expectations, but Emilia Clarke didn't even play the character Abigail Brand. Instead, she portrayed Gia, the daughter of the Skrull Talos. Since the initial hype, the book is currently trending at a raw near mint fair market value of $12, with 9.8 copies reaching 72. This issue turned out to be a disappointment for both raw and graded copies. It had reached an all-time high of $387 for a CGC 9.8 in March of 2022. This situation serves as yet another example of speculation gone wrong, leading to a bust. If you haven't sold your copies yet, you may have missed your chance, although I will say I liked Secret Invasion. I really did. I thought it was pretty good. I understand the last episode was a little disappointed and almost felt rushed, but I liked it. I don't know. I liked a little espionage, spy kind of thriller. I dug it. Let's get to number 7. This is Moon Knight Annual number 1, the Bill Sienkiewicz 1 in 25. What do you get when you pair a legendary artist with a legendary character? A retailer incentive masterpiece with considerable collectability. While this issue may not hold the key to significant plot developments, it certainly unlocked many collectors' wallets. In November 2022, we observed a high sale of $100 for a raw copy. However, that quickly settled to a near mint fair market value of $20, with a 9.8 selling for $100 in December of 2022. Fast forward 1 year, and it's currently trending at a raw near mint fair market value of $10. Unfortunately, this book turned out to be a bust despite being a retailer incentive variant. The initial hype surrounding this book has significantly diminished, so it's likely not an ideal investment opportunity. However, if you want to add one to your collection, now might be the perfect time to buy. Another one of those FOMO variants, guys. You got to be careful with those. You have to. Patience is key when dealing with those things. Now, again, I've said this before, 1 out of 10 is gonna go, and you're gonna miss out on it. But I'd rather wait on all 10 that I want and get 9 at better prices, if that makes sense. It makes sense in my head. Maybe it makes sense in yours. Let's get to the next one. This is a number 6 Marvel premiere, number 47. In November 2022, the debut of Quantumania trailer brought Scott Lang, also known as Ant-Man and briefly Spider-Man, back into the spotlight. Collectors' excitement soared, and they continued to pursue copies of Scott and Cassie Lang's first appearances. At that time, we tracked a CGC 9.6 copy high sale of $504 with a fair market value of $166 for a raw near mint. However, Quantumania didn't perform as well as Disney or Marvel had hoped. In fact, the film's underwhelming reception led Marvel Studios to reassess their cinematic approach. Nevertheless, 1 year later, the film's struggles haven't deterred collectors. Copies of this comic are now trending at a fair market value of $200 for raw near mint, indicating a boost in the raw category. On the other hand, graded 9.6 copies have seen a modest decline in value, making them a bust for slabbed issues. Scott and Cassie Lang are likely to make their inevitable return to the silver screen, making this comic a critical book to monitor. Those prices will never hit those highs again. I'll be shocked if they ever do. I'll be shocked. Let's go to number 5. Wonderman number 1. This is the direct edition. In November 2022, Marvel Studios officially announced Yahya Abdul-Mateen II as Wonderman, and production began shortly. We tracked it to a high sale of $103 for a CGC 9.8 copy and fair market raw $8. 1 year later, the rumor is that the show is canceled. In light of this, it's currently trending at a raw near mint fair market value of $6 and $44 for a CGC 9.8. A loss of $2 isn't necessarily a bust, but the significant drop for graded copies definitely is. If you took a chance on a raw copy, it wasn't a bad shot. Wonderman could still appear at some point. However, if you tried to buy, hold, and flip a graded issue, your window may have closed. Shame on you if you were spending that kind of money on a Wonderman number 1. It wasn't even his first appearance. Let's get down to number 4. Spawn number 1. With a staggering 1.7 million print run, Spawn number 1 has managed to maintain its position as one of the best-selling comic books over the years. In November of 2022, the deadline for Todd McFarlane's CGC signature submission drew near, leading collectors to scramble and purchase as many copies as possible for those last-minute submissions. At that time, we witnessed a high sale of $246 for a CGC 9.8 copy, while the fair market value for a raw was at $29. 1 year later, it is currently trending at a raw near mint fair market value of $40 and $150 for 9.8. This is a timeless issue that will retain its value over time, as it has proven consistently regardless of the circulation. The year-over-year statistics show that the raw copies are a boom and the graded copies are a bust. However, this book will always teeter back and forth in value while retaining a solid baseline as one of the best-selling aftermarket comics ever. Spawn #1. I feel like everybody has to have one of these in their collection. I wouldn't be surprised if this sees a little bump with more and more Spawn movie news. With that, let's get to #3. This is Deadpool #1, the Ken Lashley, The Hall, Notorious B.I.G. If you ever sought the first appearance of Notorious B.I.G. in a Marvel comic, this is it. This store exclusive initially sold for double its retail value when it hit the third-party markets. At its peak, we tracked it at a high sale of $175 for a raw copy, with the near mint fair market value settling at $69. Speculation at the time suggests that the buyers would likely receive their copies simultaneously, potentially flooding the market and causing a drop in its value. Fast forward to November of 2023, which is where we are now, and the situation has evolved. The current trend shows a raw near mint fair market value of $107 and $213 for a CGC 9.8. While the initial speculation may not have been entirely accurate, with raw copies being a bust from their initial peak, there has been a notable boost compared to the $69 fair market value observed during that same week. Surprisingly, this comic has retained its value well, as many collectors still seek to acquire it due to the crossover appearance of the legendary Biggie himself. That's why this has value compared to some of those other store exclusives and ratio variants. It's just kind of an oddball standalone. Let's get to #2. Before we get to #2, I want to remind everybody to check out Covrprice.com. Don't forget to check out all their articles, sign up. It's a great tool for you guys if you are a collector and you want to figure out the value of your collection. Fantastic tool. Now let's get to #2. This is West Coast Avengers #45. Hold on to this one, guys. Last year, Disney and Marvel announced that Paul Bettany would make his highly anticipated return to the MCU in a Disney Plus show called Vision Quest. At that point, that was all we knew. But it was enough to reignite interest in White Vision's first appearance. At the time, we tracked a high sale of $450 for a CGC 9.8 copy. However, it's worth noting that when White Vision first appeared on Disney Plus's WandaVision in February of 2021, a CGC 9.8 reached an all-time high of $1,500. The fair market value for a raw near mint copy was $55. Fast forward 1 year, and there are rumors that the Vision Quest has become another casualty of Marvel Studios' realignment and has been canceled. Currently, this comic is trending at a raw near mint fair market value of $46 and $195 and a 9.8. This decline represents a minor setback for the raw copies, but a significant one for the graded copies, especially considering the record high sale of 2021. Disney's foray into the streaming world, primarily through Disney Plus, has proven to be a financially challenging model. With several Marvel shows failing to meet expectations, it's unsurprising to see some of these series getting canceled. This development has left many speculators waiting for White Vision's return with uncertain hopes and dreams, though there remains a lingering question: will those loose ends ever be tied up? Man, if you go back and pay attention to all of Phase 4's loose ends, it's everywhere. It's almost too many, too much. And that's Disney and Marvel leaving too much open, probably for future projects. It's way too many. All right, we're done. We're going down now. We're down to one more. This is it. Our #1 book on this list. This is Wonderman #1, the direct edition. Amongst all the Wonderman spec, another first issue, this one from 1986, made it to the top 10 in November of 2022. We observed a peak sale of $60 for raw copy, while the fair market value for a raw near mint stood at $38. During that period, fast forward 1 year, and the fair market value has declined to $15 for a near mint raw copy. However, graded 9.8 copies are now commanding a fair market value of $163. While there isn't available data to compare the year-over-year growth of graded copies, it's evident that raw copies have seen a significant decline. The question of whether we will ever see Wonder Man in the MCU remains a matter of speculation. However, as of now, the market does not prioritize this as a speculative opportunity. That's it for our list, guys. I want to make sure you come back next week, because we're going back 2 years. We're going to 2021. We're going into the heart of COVID. Let's see what the prices do then. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, keep it comics.